This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Week, the podcast brought to you by Agriland and AXA Insurance, keeping you up to date with all the latest in Irish agriculture. I'm Charles O'Donnell and I'm joined by Aisling O'Brien and Agriland dairy specialist Hugh Harney. We'll start with positive news for farmers this week, and that's the announcement of the beginning of payments under key farm supports, namely the Basic Income Support for Sustainability and the Complementary Redistributive Income Support for Sustainability. Aisling, a bit of good news here considering the cash flow issues on a lot of farms around the country at the moment.
Yeah, that's true, Charles. Perhaps the most important payments for farmers of the year. Minister for Agriculture Charlie McConlough confirming this week that advance payments at a rate of 70% for BISS and CRISS were starting this week. And these advance payments are worth over €506 million to in excess of 110,000 farmers. And that figure is up on 2023 when €452 million was announced for BISS and CRISS advance payments. Now, the minister said this means that 6,000 more farmers have been paid and €54 million more in payments have gone out this year compared to the advance payments of 2023. And importantly, Charles, as you alluded to there with the issues with cash flow on farms, farmers were very keen to make sure we saw a return to the proper payment schedule this year after payments were put back last year as the department's IT systems were trying to get to grips with the rollout of the new Common Agricultural Policy. Now, we were told this week that 93% of applicants have been paid, which is in line with commitments made under the Farmers' Charter Agreement to pay 90% of eligible applications. So payments will be visible in farmers' bank accounts in the coming days. It should be by the end of this week. And the Department of Agriculture said it will continue to process as a matter of urgency, which is standard, all remaining cases for payment as they meet the scheme criteria. And Minister McConlough has urged any farmers with outstanding requests for documentation from the department to make sure that they return those documents as soon as possible to allow for the payments to be issued. Now, payments under the 2024 Areas of Natural Constraints, the ANC scheme, which commenced last month, are also continuing as more cases are cleared by department officials for payment. And this year's payments under the Pillar 1 Eco scheme will begin from next week, according to the department. So a lot of payments landing into farmers' bank accounts over these couple of weeks, Charles. So it is very, very positive. And look, to facilitate farmers who want to contact the department regarding their BISS or ANC payments, there are extended hours in place for the Direct Payments Help Desk. You can get that number on Agriland for that help desk, and it will be available up until 8:30 p.m. this week. So that is just, if you have any queries, you can get in touch with them. You can also go through the Ag Food portal as well if you're registered for that, which most farmers would be, Charles, and you can get in touch with department officials as well. And I suppose, look, it is very, very important. As you mentioned, cash flow has been an issue. It's been an expensive year with the impact of the weather out there on many farms in terms of, I suppose, more inputs needed, especially maybe on dairy farms as well to keep up milk quality and volumes as well out there on farms. And we did see some interesting figures as well from the CSO, which I suppose compounded what we already knew from the Teagasc National Farm Survey results for last year as well, which showed, I suppose, the slump in incomes by a regional basis. And you can see full details of that on our website and app as well, depending on where you are in the country. And it does paint a stark picture of a very difficult 2023 coming into what has been a very tricky 2024 for many farmers as well. So as you said, a positive start this week to the podcast with news that those payments are rolling out.
Yeah, absolutely, Aisling. And while we've seen payments being made in one set of schemes, we've also seen the opening of other schemes this week in the areas of organic farming and soil sampling. What's the latest on this, Aisling?
Yeah, a lot of news on the schemes front this week, Charles, that's for sure. The department are keeping us busy. So I suppose Ireland's organic strategy, it's going to run until the end of this decade, and it aims to increase the share of land being farmed organically from approximately 5% this year to 10% by 2030, and to treble the wholesale value of organic output to €750 million. And under the enhanced organic farming scheme, in the last 2 years alone, the number of organic farmers is more than doubled. And there's been significant investment made as well in market development by the government with an aim to achieving those targets set out in the organic strategy. So as you said, this week came the announcement that the Organic Farming Scheme and the Organic Processing Investment Grant Scheme are both now open for applications. The closing date for both schemes is Friday, November 29th. So make sure to take a note of that. And applicants from the dairy, horticultural and tillage sectors will receive priority access, we're being told, to the Organic Farming Scheme. Now, under the scheme, dry stock farmers entering into a contract to convert their farm to organic could qualify for yearly payments of up to €300 a hectare during the conversion period, and then up to €250 a hectare when they've achieved full organic status. Takes about 2 years. And higher payment rates are available for horticulture and tillage farmers. And in addition, there is a participation payment of €2,000 in the first year of conversion and €1,400 per year thereafter. That's all been introduced, I suppose, to increase the incentive for farmers to change to organic if it's something that they can do. And the grant rate then in the Organic Processing Investment Grant Scheme has been increased to 60%. There's an allocation for 2025 of €3.5 million there. And that's all aimed at the other side, I suppose, of the food chain for processors. And one of the key actions set out in our national organic strategy is to reduce what they term leakage, Charles, of produce from the organic sector to the conventional sector. And the government wants to encourage investment in organic processing capacity in this country. And that's why that scheme has been rolled out as well. And as I said, deadlines for both of those is Friday, November 29th. So just make a note of that if you want to get involved in organics, whether you're in the farming side or the processing side, there is schemes available for that. And as you mentioned as well, we'll turn our attention now to all matters soil, because phase 3 of the soil sampling and analysis programme has also been opened for applications by the department this week. It was announced in our budget just a couple of weeks ago that this phase of the programme has the potential to take an estimated 40,000 additional samples from farms all over the country. Now, the programme provides farmers and their advisors with comprehensive details about the nutrient status, the carbon status, and indicators of soil health on their farm. Now, instead of a payment, I suppose each farmer is going to receive these analysis reports with information on the breakdown of the soil on their farm and what they can do to improve it, essentially. And the department has said that participation is completely voluntary. It is open to all regions and all farming enterprises. The closing date for that programme, Wednesday, November 6th. The full terms and conditions are available on the department's website, Charles, but just some of the headlines to take out of those T's and C's. The programme covers the cost of up to 16 individual soil samples for nutrient analysis, soil acidity, organic matter content, and one test for surveillance of antimicrobial resistance per farm. The sampling area can't exceed 4 hectares, except where soil types and cropping of lands were similar during the previous 5 years. Then a sample area of up to 5 hectares will be deemed acceptable. And the department said that land declared on the 2024 BISS scheme is eligible to be tested, and that all applications for this soil sampling scheme will be processed and accepted on a first come, first served basis. So if you want to get involved, you know how to do it.
And just while we're on the topic of soil, it's worth reminding our listeners that the last day of this month, Thursday, October 31st, is the last date for spreading lime under the 2023 National Liming Programme. That deadline has been extended several times, but the Department of Agriculture has said that will be that, and there will be no further extensions. So that date, October 31st, is the one to keep in mind if you are in the liming programme and haven't got your lime out yet. But moving on, and the Agri-Climate Rural Environment Scheme, or ACRES, continues to generate headlines in agri-media, and usually for the wrong reasons. It's understood that the scheme came up for discussion at the first meeting of the Farmers Charter Monitoring Committee today. And earlier this week, Agriland reported that a farmer's pension was reviewed after he received the €5,000 acres interim payment earlier this year. Aisling, what's the latest on this somewhat beleaguered scheme?
Yes, Charles. Well, as you said, the bad press for acres continuing this week. Now, as we know, there was a flat rate payment made to farmers in acres by the department to address concerns that delays in the acres advance payments were causing cash flow difficulties on farm. And those payments were made around February or March time of this year. Now, the department previously said that scheme participants were advised that when those payments were being made, that if their total annual acres payment was subsequently calculated to be less than the interim payment, then the amount of the overpayment would have to be repaid. Now, this week, Fine Gael Senator Sean Coyne tabled a commencement debate on acres in the Seanad to highlight what he termed were issues with the scheme, including those payments made earlier this year. And the senator said in some cases, farmers have had to pay back between €2,000 or €3,000 of the €5,000 originally paid. And he said that has left a bad taste in the mouths of farmers regarding this scheme. And he said it was an administrative issue, as there has been an administrative failure in relation to this scheme. Now, he also told the Seanad, as you mentioned there, that he dealt with one case in particular where thankfully the outcome was successful, Charles. But this farmer had €5,000 lodged into their bank account and then subsequently had their pension reviewed. And the senator said a simple analysis of profit and loss based on the payment resulted in their pension being reduced by nearly €50. And subsequently, the farmer received a letter requiring that they pay back all but €1,300 of that €5,000, which meant that €3,700 had to be repaid. And the senator said thankfully their pension was restored, but that was the consequence of this administrative failure, in his words. And he said that there has been issues with the scheme. Now, he did compliment the government on securing funding for acres and launching this new agri-environmental scheme, but he said that the calculation of these payments made earlier this year had been way off. And he said the one thing worse than not giving something to somebody is giving them something and then taking it back, Charles. Now, and farmers out there would have known, that when they got these payments, that it probably would have been in excess in a lot of cases, and they probably would have been expecting to have to pay this back. But it still is not a good look overall. And the senator also queried why there was such a miscalculation in relation to these advance payments to farmers. And in response, Minister of State Anne Rabbitte told the Seanad that acres was ambitious and it was complex in nature, and it had created challenges in the first year of the scheme. Of course, we heard something similar from Minister for Agriculture Charlie McConlogue when he joined us on the Agriland stage at the ploughing championships as well. Now, Minister Rabbitte said that Minister Charlie McConlogue had endeavoured to address those challenges as they arose, and she also said that there are currently 8,673 participants who are in an overpayment situation. That means that there's nearly 8,700 farmers who have to pay money back to the department now. And she said that the minister has ensured, in the interests of providing as much flexibility as possible, that there are a range of options available to the affected farmers. And we have detailed those on Agriland previously. And that includes deferring those overpayments to their next acres payment as well. And as you said, the very issue of acres overpayments and indeed the delays in processing TAMS applications was mentioned and raised by farm organisations at the first meeting of the Farmers Charter Monitoring Committee. Of course, the Farmers Charter signed off on in recent weeks by the farm organisations, and the department lays out that roadmap for how the department schemes are administered and deadlines. And, we mentioned it a little bit earlier on when it came to BISS and CRISS payments and the ANC as well. But the Farm Business Committee chair of the ICMSA, Pat O'Brien, described the situation with TAMS as hugely frustrating. And the ICMSA chair called for the first cases still awaiting a decision in TAMS to be prioritised as a matter of urgency. And he said that there were other cases where TAMS payments were ready. However, IT issues within the Department of Agriculture were holding those up at the moment. And he said that that was an unfair situation where 18 months into TAMS 3 farmers have still not been paid. And he asked the department to provide real costings as well that farmers are submitting for concrete and to compare them with departmental costings. Now, we've previously reported on Agriland that the department is having a look at TAMS costings. That review is due to be carried out next year, but the ICMSA looking for that to be looked at a little bit earlier, Charles. So some good news and some bad news on the schemes front this week, that's for sure.
Moving on now, and the Environmental Protection Agency has said that it is investigating a number of large peat extraction sites for the possible illegal extraction of peat. Aisling, can you take us through this story?
Yes, so we heard a call from the EPA this week on all local authorities, Charles, to prepare their own individual enforcement plans to investigate and address all illegal peat activities. And the agency has been carrying out investigations into large-scale illegal commercial peat extraction for a number of years now across the country. And we heard this week that there has actually been successful prosecutions taken before the courts in relation to some of these cases. And it's important to note that these investigations don't concern the exercise of lawful domestic turbary rights and are solely focused on large-scale illegal extraction activities. So there are actually a complex set of regulations that govern this area, and the EPA investigations have uncovered a significant amount of data and intelligence, including using drone footage as well, Charles, of 38 illegal industrial-scale extraction activities on peatland soils less than 50 hectares, with 62 reports made in total. And those sites included locations in Longford, Westmeath, Kildare, Offaly, Tipperary, Roscommon and Sligo. And the EPA said that this information has been provided to the relevant local authorities, which have responsibility for sites less than 50 hectares. The EPA kicks in when it goes over that threshold. And the EPA said that this illegal extraction of peat is continuing despite the ban on commercial peat harvesting. That came into effect back in 2019. And there's also a ban, of course, on the commercial sale of peat for solid fuel heating and the restriction of peat cutting for other purposes. Now, there were photographs provided by the EPA from the drones that they put up into the air, and they were provided recently to the Right to Know organisation under an access to information on the environment request. And we have those photos on Agriland if you want to take a look at them. And the scale of some of these sites is quite staggering. And the EPA said it is very concerned about the extent of the ongoing illegal activity and the widespread disregard for environmental law. And they said that this will remain a key enforcement priority for the agency. And they said the unauthorised exploitation of peat on an industrial scale is causing the destruction of important natural habitats, and it's compromising the role that these peatlands can actually play, Charles, in helping Ireland to mitigate against the impacts of and adapt to climate change as well. So they do play a part, and we have spoken about peatland restoration as well. And obviously that flies in the face of this as well. And you will see from the photos, Charles, that in some of the cases there was big, large scale machinery being used, that this wasn't small turf extraction. This was very much on an industrial scale. And the Right to Know organisation said what's important now is what happens after these inspections and how the EPA is planning to respond.
Yeah, Aisling, it'll be interesting to see how local authorities respond to that. But we're going to move on now to some dairy news and start by bringing you up to speed with all the latest milk prices that have been announced as we're recording the podcast today. Just earlier today, Dairy Gold increased its price by 2.25 cent a litre to 48 cent a litre, while yesterday, Wednesday, Kerry Dairy Ireland, the dairy division of Kerry Group, announced that it will pay 47.75 cent a litre for September, which was also an increase. And at the tail end of last week, Lakeland Dairies announced a base price of 49 cent per litre in the Republic of Ireland and 40.3 pence per litre in Northern Ireland. Lakeland also announced a feed rebate worth €30 per tonne applied to all Lakeland manufactured feed purchased by milk suppliers during the 4 months of November 2024 through to February 2025. You can read about that feed rebate and all the milk price updates on Agriland.ie and the Agriland app. Finally this week, when you last heard from us on the podcast, we were getting ready for the 2024 AXA National Dairy Show, which took place last Friday and Saturday. Well, it's all over now for another year, and here to tell us about it is Agriland Dairy Specialist Hugh Harney. Hugh, what was the atmosphere like down there this year?
Yeah, Charles, so the 42nd AXA National Dairy Show took place at the Greensglens Arena in Mill Street, County Cork last week. So it was a 2-day event, and it was packed with excitement, loads of trade stands, gorgeous looking cows. The handlers were out and about, and for the first time ever, there was a calf village. And look, we actually went down on the Thursday evening, myself and a few of us here in the office, went down just to get set up and kind of see what the crack was around the place. And look, we were in around the back of the sheds, and look, there was great excitement. There was lots of work going on. The exhibitors were preparing the cows. They were washing down, clipping, grooming, and there was all sorts going on. But look, as well as the excitement, there was clearly a bit of nerves in the place as well. Down the Friday then, and the handling classes and the showmanship Young Members Association League finals were underway, and that was judged by Liza Montgomery, she's from County Down, and also by the overall judge, which was Niels Erik Haar. Niels Erik Haar is actually from Denmark, so yeah, he had to travel a good bit. So before the show got going on Saturday, I actually got the chance to talk to Niels Erik Haar, and he gave me a really good insight to kind of what type of cow he was looking for on the day. And look, himself now, he's actually an exceptional farmer. His herd earned the distinction of being Europe's top production herd in 2022, which is just unbelievable. So I think he kind of knew what he was talking about in terms of cows. So what he told me was he was looking for a well-balanced cow who could carry herself well on her legs and her feet, and with good dairy traits and a good mammary system. And then, look, the show concluded with the naming of the highly anticipated Supreme Champion Award. And look, it wasn't easy for the judge, and he'd say it himself. So he ended up picking 6 cows to stay in the ring at the end. One of the cows was actually the Bailey's champion cow from only a couple of months back. Last year's Supreme Champion and the Dairy Supreme Champion of 2022 were all in the ring. So after much kind of looking around and kind of being alone with his thoughts, Erik Haar kind of decided that Edie Dorman Fame was the Supreme Champion of the 2024 AXA National Dairy Show. So that was actually last year's winner as well, which is absolutely exceptional. To do it once is unbelievable, but to do it 2 years in a row is quite historic. That cow was exhibited by Jason, Laura, Robert and Sylvia Helen. She actually also claimed the best udder and the best exhibitor bred champion as well. She's actually a 4th calver. She was actually out of the first calf that Jason Helen bought. So there's a bit of a story in it as well. She's sired by Val BISS and Dorman, and her dam is Clonpadden BK Fame. Hallow Solomon Orangutange was the reserve champion, and she was exhibited by Philip Jones. Her dam is Kingsway Sanchez Orangutange, and her sire is Walnut Lawn Solomon. Honourable mention also went to the Jones family with Hallow Atwood Twizzle. That was actually the Supreme Champion of the show in 2022. We caught up with Jason and Laura Helen after the win, and here's what Jason had to say after winning the Supreme Champion of the 2024 AXA National Dairy Show. Jason, you must be over the moon.
Unbelievable. To win it last year was beyond my dreams. I never even thought I could win it twice.
Yeah.
But it's all her doing. You can see how chilled out she is. She's just fresh 5 weeks. Hasn't missed a beat. She's done everything. She just loves it.
Yeah, and look, it's absolutely historical. Like that Fame name, it's not the first time it's won in the ring here at the National Dairy Show. Can you tell us a bit about that?
No, and earlier today we already had intermediate champion, and she's a half sister to this cow here. But also, I think this is the 18th year there's been a Fame class winner at the National Dairy Show. So the Fame family is definitely engraved. I think this will be the 6th time a Fame has won Supreme Champion in the 43rd year of the Dairy Show, yeah.
So we got plenty of videos and content, and all the results of the AXA National Dairy Show are up on our website. You can also see all the beautiful stock from the last couple of days. So check that out.
Thanks a million for that, Hugh. And Aisling, you were down there as well, and there was plenty going on outside of the show ring as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, great few days in Mill Street as always, Charles. Huge congratulations to the hardworking committee for putting on another excellent show. As you mentioned, the first time we had a calf village as well at the dairy show. Very, very important, aspect to the dairy show, and hopefully we'll see that continue in the future. And of course, one of the highlights was the AXA National Dairy Innovation Awards, which recognise a new product or a service which was launched over the preceding 12 months that has revolutionised some aspect of dairy farming. And the winners were announced on the Friday night. There was a lot of people in the room because we've a lot of innovators. 12 companies were shortlisted for this year's awards across several categories: technology, scientific and engineering. Awards also presented for sustainability and for the best startup. And the overall award went to True North Technologies, which is based in Shannon in County Clare. It was selected by the judges as the overall winner for its E-Gate grazing management system. This is a very nifty piece of kit, Charles. Definitely check out our coverage from the AXA National Dairy Show to see this in operation. Essentially, it can be controlled and monitored from anywhere in the world using a smartphone app, which the company says saves time for farmers and can help reduce lameness in cows as well. And it can be linked up to a weather station as well. So it's a very, very smart piece of kit, which will allow farmers to, leave cows out of paddocks without having to walk the length and breadth of the farm. So it is really very much the future as well. And you might know True North Technologies from one of their well-known products on the market for many years, the grasshopper, which many farmers would have in their yards as well. So huge congratulations to True North Technologies as well on that. And the winner in the technology section was Mooncyst for their calf rumen e-bolus, which monitors temperature and activities and will alert for metabolic health conditions in calves. And the judges chose BioCell's Nuvosan Teeth Guard as the winner in the scientific section, and that's a product which aids prevention of mastitis bacteria and teeth skin conditions in dairy cows. Mooncyst also selected as the sustainability award winner, and Auto Coupler was named the best startup at the awards. And full coverage from the innovation awards and from all the activities at the show, as Hugh said, on our website, our app and our YouTube channel, so please check it out.
Yes, congratulations to all who came away with prizes both inside the show ring and outside it, and well done to all involved. But that does bring us to the end of today's show. Please don't forget to rate, review and follow The Farming Week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you could spare some time to give us 5 stars and share The Farming Week with anyone you think might be interested. From Aisling, Hugh and myself, have a great weekend.
This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.